Hello and welcome to our first Patreon exclusive minisode. Joining me are my co-hosts Ben Wilson and Tanya Holstrom.
So
I'm their co-host and the founder of Popped, Daniel Hendricks. You're getting this bonus content because you're supporting our show, and we appreciate you.
yes, we do. Thanks, guys.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for doing that, and we plan on every month doing an exclusive production for you, and it'll always be on something fairly new. So we're going to do it without spoilers. Tonight, we're going to talk about Andor. And this is fairly unscripted. I mean, the only thing I had scripted was sort of this intro. Andor is streaming on Disney Plus, and its cast includes Diego Luna as Cassian Andor, Fiona Shaw as Marva Andor, Forrest Whitaker is in there as Saul Guerrera, Soren Skarsgård as Luthen Rael, Andy Serkis as Kino Loy, Denise Gao, I think that's how you say her name, as Deidre Miro, Kyle Soller as Cyril Karn, and I love this one, Alan Tudyk as K2SO. So let's talk about Andor, guys. It's the prequel to Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which in my opinion is arguably one of the best one-off films of the new movies. What do you guys think?
Agreed. I love that it is the movie based on just the one line from A New Hope, where many people have died to bring us this information. That is great that they developed an entire film kind of around that concept. It was really well done. And the show, I'm sorry, can you edit this?
Why is it? Because it wasn't Bothan's?
Because I'm losing my train of thought and going blah 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 blah. But
this is unscripted, unedited. Don't worry about it. I mean, maybe I'll cut a little bit out of this, but
maybe
we want it to be a half hour.
Rambles.
So
okay, yeah, that's true. I could ramble for like 2 hours.
No rambling.
I'm just saying. Okay. So anyway, but the show itself does a really good job of going into the background, and we see how he gets to the place where Rogue One happens, and I thought it was expertly done, just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Ben, how do you feel about it?
I thought the show was a fun telling of the, for lack of a better term, origin story of a rebel. And I also agree with regard to the movie Rogue One. Absolutely my favorite of the one-offs by a large margin. And I enjoyed all of it.
So if you haven't seen Rogue One, you should see that before you watch Andor if you haven't seen Andor. That makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So for me, I really like this because it wasn't just the birth of one rebel person. It was the birth of the entire rebellion. And you get this whole look at the Empire, because there have been people getting online and arguing that, the revisionist people that get on there and go, oh, well, it was actually the rebels who were the bad guys because they blew up that station with all those people on it. And, you hear this kind of horse hockey every once in a while. And this series demonstrates why the Empire was so bad. The oppression, the colonization, imperialist colonization, going to these worlds and, strip mining and leaving them for dead. So I love that aspect of this. It's very politically based. You got a politically based drama. And you get to see just how fascist the Empire is, which to me, I mean, what a great backdrop for rebellion, right?
Yeah.
I agree. And even with the visuals, it just kind of underscored the nature of the rebellion versus the nature of the Empire. Like when we first see Ferrix, it's these vibrant colors that are sort of dirty and muddy, like they've been stepped on by the warm boot of democracy. And then you have the Empire, which is sterile, clinical, clean. Everything is a cog. You have the cog symbology that shows up in multiple places throughout the series. And it just does a great job of showing the dichotomy between life and passion and vibrancy, and no respect for life, and it's only what they can do for you. I
Right.
thought they did a great job of showing that from just a visual standpoint.
And the Empire, in many ways, sort of fails upward. If they're just like this bureaucratic quagmire at first, and they accidentally sort of manage to find ways to oppress people and seek people out. And I don't want to get too heavily into it because I don't want to spoil this for anybody who's going to watch it. So let's talk about the strengths of it without spoiling anything. What did you find the strengths of the series to be?
I really enjoyed all of the actors that they delivered their characters beautifully. Even one with whom my brain got distracted because I recognized this person from another project that they did. And I kept.
Who's that, Ben?
Who is that, Ben?
Well, people who have listened to our podcast might not find it surprising. It was someone from a Harry Potter film, Fiona Shaw. Fiona Shaw playing Marva Andor is the name. My brain kept switching around and imagining Petunia Dursley.
Mm-hmm.
But that was not Fiona Shaw's fault. That was my brain being obnoxious. I had a lot of fun with that. But she delivered her
really
character.
Quickly. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead
No,
and finish that. But I just wanted to mention there is one more Harry Potter tie-in in this series. Did you catch it?
I'm not certain. Let me think on that while I'm saying. So Fiona Shaw delivered her character beautifully. And so did everybody else. I loved each and every character, even the ones we're supposed to hate. So that was the huge strength of it for me, as well as the scope of different things that they showed the various portions of the burgeoning rebellion doing. It wasn't the same kind of space opera that we usually expect from Star Wars.
Right.
It was a much more varied kind of tale to tell.
Right. Tanya, what did you think the strengths were?
I will tell you in 2 seconds. But Ben, the other Harry Potter character,
I have not picked it out. Who is it?
The mother of one of the Empire guys. And she played Mrs. Fig.
Oh, yes.
Put your wand away, Harry. They might come back.
Yes.
Yes. I saw her and I was like, oh my God, I wonder if Ben noticed her.
Oh, I did not make that connection. Even though she was very notable and very enjoyable.
Yeah,
in this series, but I didn't make that connection. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. Okay, so what I loved about this series, it was expansive, it was gritty, it was thought-provoking. The acting was superb. I particularly have to give props to Andy Serkis. Like, I have goosebumps just thinking about his performance. It was so good. I can't, oh my God, stop, I can't. The costumes were incredible. I know Ben had mentioned in past episodes the idea of costume porn. This was hands down costume porn.
Definitely.
But just beautifully done. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what you just said. Acting was a huge reason why this show worked so well. Not just Andy Serkis, which I completely agree with, but Soren Skarsgård.
Yes.
Two of the best monologues in the entire series are delivered by those two actors.
Oh wait, and really quickly, isn't it Stellan?
Is it Stellan?
I think it's Stellan.
Then that's Skarsgård. my spell check did not like Stellan, apparently.
Am I wrong? I think
No, I think you're right.
Okay.
So Stellan Skarsgård and Stellan Skarsgård and Andy Serkis. Wow.
Say that 5 times fast.
No.
I will fail.
So anyway, two of the best monologues in this series were delivered by those two actors, and they it's so worth watching the series just to get to those two moments alone, regardless of the fact that the story is absolutely wonderful and they did such a good job of filling in the rest of the universe and how things happened and evolved. It's just my only probably dig on this would be pacing at times. I felt so there were times where I was kind of just twiddling my thumbs waiting for it to kind of get going. And I'm a guy that actually likes when you take your time. You know, I like that sort of 70s feel of we're going to just tell this whole story and it's going to take place over X amount of time. And you're going to sit there, you know, glued to it, watching, waiting for it to happen. It's just that while watching this series, the 8 episodes, there were episodes where I felt like a lot of nothing happened. And then, right. That's my only criticism of it that I can think of. Did you guys have any critiques of the series?
No, I actually didn't mind the pacing at all. I felt like it unfolded very organically in the same way, mind you, as the Andor credits in the beginning. The way that those evolved throughout the show, I felt like the show was metered in that exact same way. I didn't mind it. It felt very fluid and fine.
Ben, did you have any critiques of Andor?
I had a similar feeling about the pacing, but I also recognize that I am usually not very patient with that more 70s slow, gorgeous, artistic pacing feel, which is not to say that that's not a valid artistic technique. It's just that it's not my taste.
Right.
However, that was also combined with a situation that was very similar to the story Lord of the Flies, not in how the people in this situation in Andor acted towards one another, but simply the base situation that they were in. And I didn't like the Lord of the Flies story. And so every time the scene cut to that group, I was a little bit pulled out of feeling like I was in a Star Wars story. But again, I want to stress that was because of my own dislike of a different story that was superficially similar. And there was one other thing which I could call an unintended Easter egg. So we're trying not to give spoilers. How do you feel about Easter eggs?
I guess it depends on what the Easter egg is and how much it reveals.
Okay, I will phrase it in a way that does not give away any bit of the plot. This is a Star Wars story. And in this story, I saw the very first car I ever owned, an early 80s Toyota Corolla.
You did?
Yep. It's there.
All right.
That pulled me out for a moment, but that was an entertaining pulling me out for a moment.
Okay.
And where it was and what it was doing was just fine.
Excellent. It's fairly vague, so if people catch it, then they catch it. One of my favorite things in this series was the introduction of a droid. I think his name is it B2EMO? B2 emo? The droid.
He was a little emo droid, wasn't he?
This was
so
amazing. I love that droid, and I think it's probably my favorite Star Wars droid to date. So watch out for that when you're watching this series, Patreon subscribers. Anybody, would you guys have a favorite thing in this that doesn't give anything away? A person or a character or
couple things. Well, sorry, go ahead, Ben.
I will say one of the pivotal tactical actions taken by some of the pocket rebels. was absolutely gorgeous, and without being an explosion gasm. The writers and directors were not going for more booms, bigger booms, lots of flash, lots of stuff. They didn't do any of that. But they showed us a story-worthy bit of combative action.
Yeah.
If I say anything more specific, I'm going to start to give stuff away. So I
Don't do that.
no.
No. She does a finger waggle. Although with my backdrop, it's just making my finger disappear. So it's kind of
Yes.
freaky. Tanya, was there something that stuck out to you that you really liked that doesn't give away the story?
Possibly. We'll see. I'll say it, and then if it doesn't work, but I don't think it gives away the actual story. We'll see. But the dialogue I thought was really strong. And to your point earlier, Daniel, when you were talking about that the show was really intensely political, I loved that about it because it was kind of a mirror to our actual world, which I liked. But there was an exchange between Mon Mothma, who I always want to call Mon Mothra. I can't help it. I just want to say Mon Mothra. In any case, she's at a party and they are talking about some little dastardly things that the Empire is doing. And one of the guests she's talking to says, if you're doing nothing wrong, then what is there to fear?
Oh my God, yeah.
And she says, I'm fearing your definition of wrong. And that to me is so powerful. It just reminds me of back in the 2010s when the NSA stuff broke, like the whistleblower Edward Snowden came out, and then we discovered that we were being spied on by our government in a massive way. And one of the main arguments was, well, if you have nothing to, it doesn't matter. I have nothing to hide. Like that's not the point. Right. That is not the point, people. But just
losing your freedom is the point, and losing your privacy is also the point. Yes, but I think you're right. And politically, what I liked about this was they did the politics, made it adult, intelligent, contemporary, and they made it work. We can juxtapose the politics of something like The Phantom Menace and see how that completely fails and falls on its nose because it's just convoluted. It doesn't make any sense. This makes sense. Every step of the way, every little thing that happens that progresses a story forward politically makes sense. I was never going, wait, what's happening here? Why is there a trade embargo that nobody cares about? There was none of that, right? So this is, I'm going to say now that I highly recommend that people watch this, especially if they love an intelligent, intense political drama with some action, not a whole lot of action. So I would recommend it. Do you guys recommend this series?
I definitely do. One thing I'd like to say about the political angle is it did not feel heavy-handed. It was an organic part of the story, and it, as you said, and it just worked. Unlike Todd Howard, it just worked.
All right. So, well, since we all recommend this, let's get to popping.
Popping pop.
Let's get to popping. Right? I'm supposed to do that voice. I forgot to do that voice. Anyway.
We love the voice.
All right, Patreon people, this is unscripted. What do you want? What do you want from me? Huh? All right. So let's go on. Tanya, you're our least generous popper here. What do you give Andor?
I am going to shock everybody. I give it 5 pops.
Wow.
I loved it to the point where I might, depending on what season 2 looks like, I might like it better than The Mandalorian.
Oh.
Clutch your pearls, everybody. I know, I said it. I think it's just my sensibilities in general. I tend to lean towards the more political stuff, the more gritty, dark stuff is kind of where my sensibilities lie. So I think just on an emotional level, yeah. But I would give it 5 pops. I thought it was really effing great.
Ben.
Yes.
It's up to you. What do you got?
The things that I didn't like as I was watching Andor are really only things that came in through my own baggage and my own past. I absolutely loved the show itself. I give this one 5 pops.
Wow. What do you know? So I'm giving it 4.
Daniel,
And
you've
here's the
taken
thing.
over my my
We're
downer
switching places.
position.
The reason I'm giving it 4 is this. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It has everything I wanted in it. I love all of the acting. I love the characters. I love the little droid. The story was fantastic. If the pacing hadn't thrown me off so much, it would be a 5. No problem. I don't need them to get to the castle right away, but I also don't want to wait on the cruise until we get to the island. You know, we have planes. Let's get there a little bit quicker. Let's, you know, the storytelling's good. It's very good, but I just need it to get there a little bit faster, so I'm not having to rewind because all of a sudden something happened and I hadn't actually stopped paying attention. And I feel like that's a failing on the part of the pacing for me. So as much as I love the series and it could have gotten a 5, that's the only thing that holds it back for me. But yeah, it pops. It certainly pops.
Yeah, well, you're dead to me, heathen.
We're all dead. You just don't know it.
Ooh, scary.
Anyway, so hey, that's great. This was our first mini-sode. What do you guys think? This is good, huh? Little half-hour discussion about something without going too heavily into it, but
Yeah.
being able to recommend something. Hey, maybe we'll get one we don't want to recommend. You never know.
Possible.
We might.
So
Yes.
next month, what are we gonna do next month, guys?
Ooh.
Hmm?
Hmm.
I guess
We
we'll
should
have to
think
think
on
about
that.
that. Yeah.
And
And we'll post it on our Patreon when we're ready to go.
I think we should also see if we have any suggestions or requests from fans.
You know, it's a good idea. Maybe we should put that up on the Patreon page and see what they think.
Nice.
Yeah, because you mean something to us. You are valuable to us. You
You complete
are
You
us.
complete
wonderful.
us.
And with that, we're going to say farewell. Thank you for joining us on our first Patreon mini-sode. Hopefully there'll be many more to come. Not hopefully, there will be many more to come.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
Darn
you.
straight.
I love
Bye.
the name Minisode too.
Goodbye and thank you.
Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.
Thank you.